Alrighty. Get everybody rolling in here. Dun, dun, dun. Right. Hopefully everybody's doing well today. Chat going here. Give me a 1 in the chat. Open up your chat box. Give me a 1 in the chat if you can hear me clearly. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We got a lot of people rolling in here, so we'll get started. Tell me what screen you currently see. That would be helpful for me as well. I'll make sure I show what I'm showing here. Nice. Excellent. Okay, cool. That's what I was hoping for. Thank you. Appreciate that. Get this shrunk down and let a few more people roll in, and we'll get this thing started. What do you say? All right. If I can get my windows working. All right, excellent. All right, I think we're certainly going to get more people rolling in here, but I want to get started on this. Hopefully you guys do too. Hopefully you're ready to take some notes. Give me a little bit of feedback. Give me a 0 if you've never been on one of my workshops before. And if you have, give me a 1 if you have not been on one of my recent workshops. In other words, the ones that have talked about, say, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Prime Day, all that kind of stuff. All right, cool. Awesome. Nice. A lot of new faces. Sweet. I love it. Okay, so my style on this. Abe, you've never been on one of my workshops, really? I figured maybe you had. Okay. All right, so cool. So the way I do this, I am going to basically, this is going to be a workshop. I'm going to go through this pretty fast. I'm not going into some big, large pitch and everything. I do, of course, have sponsors. That's who helps me put these things on that I'll go ahead and mention. But other than that, I'm going to power through a lot of information very quickly. And then I'm going to take your questions at the end. Fair enough? Everybody understands the model there? If that's the case, then I will get things going here. Okay, so I want to make sure that we are, okay, we're live. You can see the screen, you can hear me clearly. Recording is going for any of you who are wondering, hey, is this recorded? Yes, and then we will send out a replay that expires in about a week. And yes, let me also, I'm gonna try to do this. Let me see if I can not screw this up, but I do want to see if I can go live with this workshop here into the Facebook group as well. For those of you who may have joined late, obviously you get the primary benefit because you're in the room. If the broadcast over to Facebook group fails, then then obviously you're in. You're already here. So I still be a lot of people rolling in here. And sure enough, the broadcast to Facebook has failed. So let me try this one more time. Otherwise, we'll just keep moving. No. All right. Okay. I don't know if that's broadcasting or not. I am not going to worry about it. I'm going to worry about you because you are here. So I appreciate you being here. All right. So first of all, let me go ahead and talk about what we're going to be talking about, right? I've had a number of different discussions lately. Some of those have been not about PPC. And so now you've been asking me, it's like, hey, come back to PPC, help me make sure that I'm ready for, this upcoming Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Surprise Tuesday. How many of you were aware? Give me a 2 if you were aware of Surprise Tuesday, if you know what that is. That's that chat box right there. Yeah. Go ahead and crack open that chat box there. That way, because I'm going to be asking you questions, I'm expecting everybody to participate who's on the call. Otherwise, there's the door. Cool. That's the attitude that I pull on my own shows. So, all right. So Surprise Tuesday is actually simply just kind of left you off the hook there. So Surprise Tuesday is simply just, it is a sale day that seems to happen right after Cyber Monday, right? Surprise. And it has about the same kind of volume as Black Friday. So traditionally, the brick and mortar businesses, they would typically have Black Friday. That's their hot, big selling day. And so those went crazy. And obviously those got blown out of the water this year by COVID. And so then, of course, a lot of traffic, a lot of purchases shifted to e-commerce, which is great for all of us who sell on channels like Amazon. And so generally what we typically have on e-commerce is Cyber Monday is the big day, right? That's like prime day for us, right? Cyber Monday is the big day for us. We do get quite a bit of sales, a lot of traffic coming on Black Friday. Some over the weekend. Surprisingly, we don't promote the weekend as much, but that's usually because people are traditionally not shopping on the weekends because they're off with their families and that kind of stuff. But this year, it's going to be different. It's going to be different. Why? Because a lot of people are pinned at home and they're just in the habit now of just being online and doing their shopping 7 days a week. A lot of you have commented about how you used to, in previous years, you used to be able to predict it's like, oh, weekends are going to be slow. Well, since everybody, with quarantine and that popping back up and down throughout the year, it seems to me like we're getting a lot more 7 days of sales. Now, we still have some that are, certain peaks, but we don't have some of the more traditional buying behavior of e-commerce where you have people who are, like, oh, I'm on lunch break at work and that kind of stuff at the office. Well, because a lot of people are working from home now, they can shop whenever they feel like it because nobody's looking over their shoulder. Well, most of the time. And for those of you who get to work it from home, as far as the consumers go, right? So let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing here today. So today we're going to be talking all about maximizing your profits from your PPC campaigns. And I want to emphasize that specifically because that is usually the first thing that most sellers, especially in their first year, they completely forget about is to really have a profit-focused effort, okay? That's something that my team over at Canopy Management does to make sure that our clients get the highest amount of profitability out of any season, right? Sales is great. Traffic is great. A lot of those are vanity metrics if you don't actually get to take the cash home. Otherwise, Amazon's the one who gets the better deal, right? So let's not give the house the better deal here. Let's go ahead and make sure that we do have a focus on profit. And this is going to be kind of a recap for some of you. Some of you, it's going to be new territory. So I want to make sure that you understand as far as what we're going to cover today. I'll tell you in a second as far as like who the heck I am. For those of you who have never been on one of my workshops, thank you first and foremost. Stick around. It will be worth it, but you got to make sure you're taking notes and doing screenshots. Trust me on this. You're going to want to do this. So, all right, keep moving forward here, right? So, this is one of the most common mistakes that I see sellers make every year around this time of year, around the holidays, right? They get wrapped up in like the frenzy that typically we see. This year, it's a lot more volatile. Conversion rates and traffic are jumping all over the place. You've got COVID. You have elections. You have short windows, where a late Prime Day, and you have these short windows between the holidays that we typically have in Q4. And on top of that, we're expecting to have an increase in problems with logistics. United Postal Service, UPS, FedEx, any of the, I call them like crowdsourced, delivery, right? The independent, kind of like the Uber driver kind of stuff, where you're going to have bottlenecks, not just the Amazon warehouses or Walmart or Target or whatever the case is, but you're also going to have that final mile challenge of trying to get the product to the shopper. And some of these logistics delivery services are going to fail because of the volume and because of the restrictions that they have and the care that they need in order to make sure that their employees are protected and their customers are protected. We understand that it's going to cause a problem. What that's going to cause is that part of that compression that I'm talking about between the late Prime Day and an early cutoff this year of when a consumer can expect to order something online and have it delivered so that they can still provide that as a gift for their family for Christmas, let's say. It used to be where somebody could order right up until like December 21st, December 22nd, right? And still expect to get Prime 2-day delivery to them. This year, we're expecting somewhere probably in the December 10th to December 14th is when they're going to cut that off. Right away, you just lost a week and a half of what you normally would have as a selling season. So compressed selling season, people aren't quite sure because of things like elections, job, cash flow, all these things. They're not doing the traditional, thing where they are, they got big families coming over. That was something I saw on the news just yesterday is that the stores are stocking up with the smaller turkeys and the smaller hams because they expect smaller quantities to be ordered, not the larger ones where they've got, I've got, everybody and their friends are coming over. No, not this year. So things have changed quite a bit. So conversion rates, shopping still happens quite a bit, but conversion rates are going to be jumping all over the place. And a lot of you, how many of you, give me a 5. Very true. Yeah. Give me a 5 if you've seen that where your conversion rates, the traffic is still there, but the conversion rates and your sales and your A costs are just going crazy from one week to the next. Yes. 5. Yes. Okay, cool. Just a whole string of 5. That was like the head smash 5. I don't know if you're familiar with that one. So my previous co-host, my business partner, Brian Bird, he always, give me the keyboard head smash. And that's kind of when people just, take the keyboard and just, smash it across their forehead. But I appreciate the enthusiasm there. All right. So they get up, so sellers, they get caught up in the sales frenzy, right? And before you know it, they're sitting there on Christmas Day. They've actually lost money because what? They didn't focus on a profit strategy. They focused on how can I just be excited and just sell everything and put everything on sale and just move as much stock as possible. Now, if you're trying to liquidate so you don't have long-term storage fees, that I understand. Okay, great. Get it out of the warehouse so you don't get this, $1,000 bill from Amazon for long-term storage fees, or you have to destroy. That'd be even worse, right? Ideally, you've got a good product. Your consumer wants it. You actually want to be able to profit so that when the holiday season is done, you've got cash in your pocket. You can bankroll a restock because it's going to be a longer duration in order to get that stock not only manufactured and shipped, but also even checked into Amazon, right? So that is why I wanted to talk to you today about setting your PPC campaigns correctly with profitability in mind. Now, I spent way much more time on this first slide than I expected to. So now I'm going to really turn on the afterburns and the slides are going to start turning. So I want to make sure that things are turning here. You should now see a what are we talking about slide, right? If anybody doesn't see that, please give a 0 up there so that my team who is here backing me up here so they can be aware of it and they can communicate to me. But today, we've got a lot of ground to cover. We're going to talk about, here's a quick little overview as far as what I'm going to go over. So by the end of this webinar, this is what I expect that you will have learned and that you will have taken away from this, right? I've failed in my job if you are not walking away from this with some action items that are going to directly improve the profitability of your sales this year. Okay, does that sound good? So I want you to be able to set a strong foundation at the product, the campaign, and the target level based on my favorite Pareto's principle, the 80-20 rule, right? I want you to be able to capitalize on these high traffic days using seasonal strategies, including a couple of strategies that I invented, including waterfall and gold panning campaigns. Some of you have used those and some of you have gotten a chance to implement those. Alex, I do see that Veronica is asking for some help there, and I saw a hand up, so hopefully you guys can you can help her with that. Also, defend and expand your market share with product targeting ads, right? Those things are hot this year. And I'll tell you when we get there, I'll tell you why that is the case. So if some of the words I just said sound foreign to you now, don't worry about it. It'll make sense by the end, but ultimately, who's excited? Who wants to get started with this as far as like to get into the meat of this, right? Yes, yes. Awesome. Really appreciate your feedback. I have literally canceled and walked away from webinars where I didn't get enough feedback. So really appreciate that. Thank you. I know I'm a pain. All right. So before we get started though, okay, I do obviously need to mention who, as far as like who sponsors this. So I'm going to take a quick minute, let you know that this workshop is sponsored by a phenomenal advertising agency team. Yes, I'm biased because I know the results that we get. And that is the agency team that I've built that includes multi-million-dollar brands, top Amazon executives that we've recruited away from Amazon. We have trained and accredited teams of ad management experts and a proven track record of high performance ad and listing management, among other things. We actually have a whole line card. We are a full service agency, so on and off Amazon. And very talented team. I absolutely love working with them. We have a phenomenal culture. If it sounds like something you want to do, talk to our recruiter also. But if your brand is at the point, you think it's at the maturity of the point where you want to know if now is the right time to consider outsourcing to an agency. Even if you've actually applied to us before, we actually have something new for some of the smaller sellers, some smaller brands. We actually have some new options for you that we just rolled out in the last month. So be aware, if it wasn't a right fit previously, come back and try again. Let's have the second conversation. We may actually have something that's going to fit this time for you. But if your brand wants to know if now is the right time to consider outsourcing to a professional agency with our kind of level of experience that allows you to level up your competitive presence and profitability on Amazon, then I want you to reach out to my team. I'm going to have Alex, if you could put the link into the chat there. If all of you look at the open up your chat box there. You'll be able to see that link and see where it goes. So now that we have that out of the way, cool. Open up your chat window, put in there, who is, just say ready in the chat if you're ready to get this workshop started, right? Actually get things going here. Cool. Nice. Thank you for that. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. All right, man, we still have people coming in. That is fantastic. All right, so moving fast. Who the heck am I? Let's start with that. So let me introduce myself. So my name is Brian Johnson. I've been selling on Amazon since 2015. I was actually selling on eBay and other e-commerce channels for another 7 years prior to that. So I've been in this game a while, right? I have now, because over the last 5 or 6 years now in the Amazon space, I've now coached over 20,000 brands. Man, that's a big number, to market better on Amazon. And part of that is because I've made, kind of innovated and made the effort to kind of get out there and put myself out there and make mistakes, but at the same time, obviously try to get people to collaborate. And those includes things like our community over here at Amazon PPC Troubleshooting, which is a Facebook group. I developed the original ad management software, PPC Scope, which is now rolling out the version 3 because it's been around for 4 years now. I launched and developed the largest professional ad course, Sponsored Products Academy. That's also on version 3 this year. And I am also the co-founder of the Done For You ad agency that sponsored this whole workshop, Canopy Management, of course. I do coaching, I've done speaking, consulting, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't matter, because what you want to know is what are the bullet points of what you need to take action on today, right? All right, so let's jump in. This is the actual meat now, okay? So foundation ads, all right? When it comes to foundation ads, let me kind of give you a little bit of focus on this, okay? So I am a big fan of the 80-20 principle, right? This is the Pareto's principle. A lot of you have heard that before. 80% of results come from 20% of efforts, or in this case, focus, right? Where you focus your ad spend should be on the on the areas that produce you the greatest results. In this case, what I want you to do is I want you to focus your ad spend on the 20% of your products, of your campaigns, and your targets. The targets can include things like keywords, products, categories, right? So those are the targets. So I want you to focus your ad spend on the 20% of products, campaigns, and targets that are going to produce 80% of the profit for your product line. Now, you're going to have to come in with some of your own information on this. I'm going to show you as far as like how to look at the key metrics, but there's some things that you need to be aware of to consider in this. One is you're going to have to calculate things like conversion rate. For your products, for your campaigns, for your actually products is going to be calculated for you overall, but for your products, for your campaigns, and for your targets, right? But you're also going to want to know what are your more or less profitable products as well, right? So that's going to have an influence on this that I won't be able to really, I'll discuss it here, but not showing you an example of how to calculate that, okay? Okay, so all right, let's start out as far as like the product key metrics, okay? If we're gonna focus our ad spend on the products that have the highest ad margin, I'm not sure if this screenshot is big enough, but hopefully what you should be able to see is inside of your Seller Central, you're gonna have reports, business reports, and then ASIN by detail is essentially a report. This is basically showing like all of your ASINs, and it's gonna show a couple of key metrics, including sessions, which is essentially the short version of that, or the simplified version, is how many shoppers actually got to your product detail page, right? It's a little bit more complicated than that, but let's just call it that for just like how many people viewed your product listing, okay? Sessions. The second one on this is the USP percentage. This is the unit session percentage. In other words, based off of the number of sessions or visits that you had to your listing by individual shoppers, how many units did you actually sell? So it's the ratio between the units you sold and the traffic that you got. It's your conversion rate against the traffic or the visibility of your products. Does that make sense? Does everybody know? Does it put a 0 in there if you're not familiar with unit session percentage or how that is a form of a conversion rate? It's not the only one, but it is a form of a conversion rate. Okay, so I got a few of you. Okay, cool. I really appreciate you being honest on that. Thank you so much. Conversion rate is simply just the ratio between the orders or the units that you're getting, right? How many sales that you're making compared to the amount of shopper traffic that are coming to your product or clicking through on your ads, right? So there's a couple different conversion rates that we'll talk about here. This is primarily at the product level. If you look at this screen, you can see that each line item is a separate product, a different ASIN, right? Blurred out for, for security, right? But the sessions, for instance, the sessions, of course, in this example, like in the first example there, you've got 1,511 sessions. 1,511? Yep. It's not so much like don't ask as far as is that good or bad, right? Ask as far as like how is it compared to your other products. If you have one that has 50,000 sessions and you've got another one that has 100 sessions, the one that has 100 sessions probably needs more attention, right? More traffic, right? But ultimately what we're looking at is a combination of, we want as many sessions as we can get, but we also want that to translate to sales. And that's kind of where our total units ordered is going to come into effect. And therefore the ratio between those two, units divided by sessions, is that conversion rate, which is the unit session percentage. Common question that I get is, what's a good conversion rate on Amazon? Well, on Amazon, the general rule of thumb is 12 to 15% USP or 12 to 15% conversion rate at the product level. A lot of other sales channels, if you're currently selling on like Shopify, for instance, or another channel, you're typically used to maybe a 3 to 5% conversion rate. So the credibility and the trust factor and the way that Amazon markets and leverages the platform is high enough that 12 to 15% is pretty typical. Now, some of you are going to have products that are 5% on Amazon. Some of you are going to have products that are 50% on Amazon. Okay. It is more specific to your product niche, unless you did such a good job of sourcing a product that is readily not, it's not available, right? In other words, you've got exclusive rights to it. You've got some licensing deal, or you came in with something that is completely unique because you read the audience and you listened to them and you responded and you introduced something brand new to the market that nobody else has. Those are some reasons, of course, why you have a very high USP or a very high conversion rate. Most common reasons for low conversion rate is usually analysis paralysis. So I don't know if any of you heard that. It's basically a marketing term or a decision term, right? Kind of a human psychology thing where in the context of Amazon, when shoppers search for, I'm going to use kind of one I poke fun at on a regular basis, and that is baby bibs, right? If you're in baby, I'm sorry. If you're in baby clothing, I'm sorry, you're going to struggle always on Amazon because you're going to have conversion rates that are probably 3%, 5%. Now, if you're hitting above 10% and you're in that niche, good on you. You're doing fantastic. You're doing something better than others are doing, right? But generally, the reason for that is because a very low conversion rate is because there's too much selection. Somebody comes on and they're searching for a baby bib, right? And they're hit with, not only are there different patterns, different prints of what's on the baby bib, there's different colors, there's different sizes, there's different quantity packs. And of course, all the competitors, they all sell like, oh, here's 20 different designs and you're just not going, and you come in, you say, well, I've got this pack of designs and I've got variation 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can just create as many designs as I want because I'm a design genius. Unfortunately, so is everybody else in your niche. And so what the shopper sees is I've got 50 million choices to make here. Therefore, I'm not going to make any choice, right? Common thing that I say, what hurts your conversion rate the most on your product listing is introducing any kind of confusion or doubt. Okay. Too many products to select from creates confusion. It slows down the buying process. How many of you, give me a 1 in the chat if you have a product that has a bunch of variations and you've experienced that yourself, where conversion rates just seem to dry up or you have very low conversion rates, potentially because of this very thing, because of shoppers, there's just too many selections for them, right? Now, back to kind of how we use this. What we want to focus on from a profitability standpoint is when it comes to the products, we literally want to advertise on the 20% of the products that are currently producing 80% of the profitability. Now, if you haven't calculated your profitability, you've got to. You absolutely have to this week. This is an imperative for you as a business owner. You need to know how much profit you're making off of every unit that you sell. You need to know what your conversion rate is for every unit you sell. You need to know things like what is your break-even ACoS and break-even cost per click for each of your products that you sell. If you don't, figure it out this week. Okay, I've got plenty of videos on that within the Facebook group. Glad to help you on there in there, but those are some things that if you don't have those metrics, now if you haven't launched yet, okay, that makes sense. But if you have launched and you don't know those metrics, this is the week you got to figure that out. So what we want to do is we want to focus our ads so they're essentially pointing on the products that have ideally the highest conversion rate and the highest profitability and the highest click-through rate. Okay, so those three. Number 1 on that is going to be conversion rate. Okay, whether it's this USP, USP is a good one, right? You've got a high USP, and you've been selling at least a few units on that, and so you got a good measure, a high USP. Those are the ones that you can afford to be more aggressive in your ads because the conversion rate is going to actually give you an ROI. It's going to pay back when it comes as far as being more aggressive during the holidays in those ads where your ad is focused more on that particular product, for instance. You're likely going to have a lower ACoS on products, lower advertising cost of sale or ACoS on products that have a higher conversion rate because it's going to produce better. The second thing on that, like I said, is profitability. If you have certain products that you've got a high conversion rate on, but you've got a 10% net margin on, net profit on, then you're probably going to struggle because you're not actually making the money you thought you did, right? Better to focus on the best combination of these three, where you have if you've got multiple products, try to figure out what are the 20% of your products that have the best combination of, first and foremost, the highest USP. Second is going to be net profit margin. Third is going to be the click-through rate, which is basically the engagement you're getting with shoppers. How good are you currently doing? Now, click-through rate, of course, is an advertised metric, right? USP and net margin. USP is this business report metric. And then, of course, the net margin is something that you calculate yourself offline, right? All right, take a quick sip here and we'll move on to campaigns. Now, campaigns and targets, very similar analysis, okay? Same kind of concept that I just talked about with the products, except you're just looking at different metrics. Typically, I'm going to be looking at the click-through rate, or CTR, and the advertised conversion rate, or ACR. Now, in the past, I've used terms like CVR to talk about advertised conversion rate. CVR and ACR, they're the same thing, right? I'm just saying advertised conversion rate. This is not the same as the USP conversion rate. USP is basically a product level overall, including both organic and sponsored sales. It is the the overall conversion rate is USP. ACR is the advertised conversion rate, what your campaigns do, what your targets do, what your keywords do, your product targets do, your campaign targets do. And you're going to be looking at a combination of what are the 20% of your campaigns that are, of your existing campaigns, that should be they should basically be running ads during the next few weeks, during this hot spot. And what I recommend that you do is you focus in on the 20% of campaigns that, again, are producing the highest conversion rate. Now, the conversion rate on advertising is, I put the formula there in red. That is your orders from advertising divided by the clicks of your advertising. Now, you should be able to see that as a summary up top, and then on each of your campaigns, you should see that kind of click-through rate. You're not going to see an advertised conversion rate. You're going to have to do your own math on that one because Amazon doesn't do it for you, except for a couple of minor sub-screens. But you can certainly look at the orders column, and you can divide that by the clicks column for each of your campaigns. Pretty easy to figure out what your conversion rate is. Look to identify what are the top 20% campaigns that are producing the highest conversion rate. Second, if you're having to make an additional choice, second would be the click-through rate. So in other words, those that are, now an easier way to look at this too is that if you've got separate campaigns for separate products, if you've already eliminated a whole bunch of your campaigns because they were on products that don't have a very good, they're not part of your top 20% as far as conversion rate, then you're probably going to eliminate those first. And then you're going to be looking at what are the campaigns that are remaining? What are your top 20% overall? Maybe you can say top 20% overall, or 20% of the ones that are remaining. Use your best judgment on that one as a business owner. But essentially, again, you're looking at what are the top 20% of those campaigns that are producing the highest conversion rate. Second, the highest click-through rate or engagement. In other words, you're getting in front of an audience. If you got an above average click-through rate, what that signals is that Amazon or the shopper sees your ad and says, yes, that product is related to what I'm looking for. That's a positive signal to Amazon. Amazon loves high click-through rate because that says, oh, I showed the right ad. The higher your click-through rate is on your campaign, the more likely Amazon is going to show your ad. It's one of the things that is commonly asked, like, how do I compete with people who keep on showing their ads above me? I put my bid up to $20. Well, your click-through rate probably isn't as high as it could be. So that's one thing. That's a secondary thing to look at. Now, the same rule applies to targets. Now, targets, you can again look at this. Now, I went ahead and just copied, the campaign one. Don't worry about it. So the same kind of thing applies, though, is you're looking at the click-through rate, the advertised conversion rate, or click advertise conversion rate first, right? Click-through rate second, okay? Now we put in ROAS as far as return on ad spend. That's kind of interchangeable as far as the ACoS, right? You should have solved it basically by having you're focused on your highest converting products. The only difference is that when you're making decisions as far as like, am I going to double up my budget or my ad spend on a specific keyword or a specific product targeting or a specific campaign target or a specific campaign, for instance, then you do kind of want to have that safety check of like, am I already at, 20% above my break-even ACoS? Should I be increasing something that's currently losing money? No, you shouldn't. We do expect that your conversion rate increases during the holidays if you've got a product that is hot during fourth quarter, during the holidays. For those of you who have products that are not as hot during fourth quarter, your conversion rate probably won't change at all. But like I mentioned at the beginning of this, is this conversion rate each week is going to be bouncing up and down because of all of this external pressure. You got a tight window as far as the selling season on Amazon. You've got political events. You've got COVID related quarantine. You've got, people are very distracted. Distracted people don't convert as well, right? So be aware of that. It's okay, because everybody else is experiencing the same thing, right? Don't think that you're being, you're singled out and you're not getting the conversion rate and your sales have dropped. Everybody's sales have dropped. Unless they're driving their own sales or artificially driving their own sales from off of Amazon, then they might be able to weather the storm better on the down days. But on the up days, you're probably going to be right in line with them. Okay. Joe was asking as far as like, what's a good click-through rate? So click-through rate is, here's what I'll tell you is, assuming that you've got enough data, let's say you've got a keyword, for instance, that has at least 1,000 impressions, right? Just to be more statistically accurate. Then if you have a conversion rate somewhere in the 0.5 to 2%, you're probably in a normal range. 0.5% to 2% click-through rate is probably normal. Above that, it's probably because it's a branded term, right? Because people are actually searching for it in general. You're going to have lower click-through rates on more generic terms that are less targeted, where you can search on Amazon and not just your product or your type of product shows up, but a number of different kinds of products that could fit that same terminology was going to come up. So typically the short tail terms that are more generic and can mean a lot of different product lines are typically going to have a lower click-through rate because you don't know what the mindset of that shopper is. Your ad might show all the way at the top, and 9 out of 10 shoppers may be looking for a different kind of product. So don't take it personally. Just try to target your ads a little bit better with more descriptive keywords that are directly relevant to your product and your product niche, not simply just applied, not just simply just, oh, it's got high traffic, therefore I should go after it. That's a very bad strategy. It's a supplemental strategy. It's not your core strategy, just in case anybody wants to know. My warning sign on click-through rate, though, Joe, is if you get down below, say, 0.2%, that's a warning sign that the shoppers feel that your ad is irrelevant to what they're searching for, okay? And what that typically means, though, is that Amazon is going to look at that and they're going to frown. They're going to say, your product ad is not hitting the target audience. I'm going to start showing your product ad less, or worse, I'm going to start charging you a higher cost per click, which they can do as well. Now, anyway, so hopefully that kind of answers that. We'll kind of go into that a little bit more detail. So I want to make sure that everybody understands as far as like when it comes to the 80-20 rule, give me a 1 if you understood, give me a 0 if I totally lost you on this one. Kind of recapping here, you're doing an 80-20 where you're looking at what are the top 20% products, campaigns, targets that are likely to produce the highest amount of profit and conversion rate that I want to make sure that most, if not all, of my ad spend is pointed to during this season so that I can get the highest return on my fourth quarter investment. Does that make sense to everybody? And it's okay to say a zero, because sometimes I go off on tangents. Definitely. Awesome. Okay. Yeah. And I know a couple of, and that's okay. Fortunately, here's what I want you to do. For those of you who are not quite clear on this, we are going to send out the replay on this, right? So maybe a second pass will help. Certainly jump into places like the Amazon PPC troubleshooting group. Ask the question, say, you know what? He presented this. That didn't make any sense. I'm likely the one who's going to respond to you in that group. I'm very hands-on and very active within the community. Anybody who's followed me for over the years knows that. And I don't know, people say I'm too obsessed with it, but all right. So next one, let's talk about seasonal ads. Take a water break here and give Alex a chance to drop a couple reminder links in there for those of you who missed the first ones. All right, seasonal ads. These are the ones that typically I'm going to run, like some of these I'm going to run just during fourth quarter, primarily just for these hot days, like Prime Day, high traffic day. Black Friday to Surprise Tuesday, those are the high traffic days, right? If these are also great if you happen to be in a niche that has spikes of high traffic for a certain day. Like for instance, if you normally have a product that isn't doing so great this time of year, but maybe it is the hottest graduation gift ever, then you're probably going to have some spikes in traffic and visibility. And therefore, these might be ones that you dig back up and say, oh, I'm going to turn those back on because I'm expecting a lot more shoppers going in a short period of time. But these work best. What we call them is waterfall campaigns. So some of you have probably heard of these before, but the waterfall campaigns is something that I created a number of years ago back when Amazon only had the sponsored product ads. And these were designed primarily to be applied to the automatic campaign and a keyword campaign. Now, the keyword campaign, the manual keyword campaign and sponsored product, it was actually designed to, well, no, actually, I'm sorry. The waterfall, the next one I'm talking about, the gold panning one, that one's actually the one I was talking about there. The waterfall campaign is primarily just automatic campaigns, okay? So these are automatic campaigns. If you're not currently running automatic campaigns, I do think that's a mistake because I would recommend that you probably either run this one or the next strategy that I'll talk about, either waterfall or gold panning. But waterfall is actually a strategy that we use on high traffic days in order to kind of get some stamina throughout the event. In other words, you're not running out of budget. You're not, your ads don't simply just stop because you hit, because they got too expensive. Let that happen to your competitors. This is how you solve this. Waterfall campaigns is a strategy in which you set up, let's say 3 automatic campaigns. You can do more or less as you want to, but essentially these are duplications of the same campaign. You've got the same products involved these in these campaigns, but what you're doing is you're having progressively lower bids with progressively higher budgets, okay? Now, what this does essentially is it prevents you from running out of budget on at least one of these campaigns, but not all campaigns throughout the day, okay? So the way this works is, an example is automatic campaign waterfall number 1. Now, before I jump into this, a very common question is like, okay, do these run alongside my existing automatic campaigns? Do I shut off my other automatic campaigns? What I would recommend that you do is actually, if you have automatic campaigns running, kind of a spin-off of this is you can say, okay, I've got this automatic campaign running and I already have all these negative terms that are in this automatic campaign. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 more variations on my currently running automatic campaign. And I'm going to fit them in, kind of wrap them around, maybe have one that's more expensive, one that's less expensive, right? That's one way you can kind of use your existing automatic campaign if you've got it running. If you're not running any automatic campaigns, then just run, you could run all 3. Here's the idea. Not these waterfall campaigns, they don't compete against each other because they run sequentially. They run sequentially because the first one is going to be have an above average bid. In other words, it is a bid that is maybe above your break-even bid for your product. Maybe it's an aggressive bid. In this example here, I'm just having an arbitrary number of $2 bid, right? What this is going to do is it's going to be the first automatic campaign that runs on the beginning of the busy day. Depending on how competitive and how much traffic your specific product niche gets, is you are going to get, you're going to run out of budget. You have a $20 budget, again, arbitrary number. You've got a low budget, such as $20 on that first waterfall campaign. At the high bid, you're going to get some spend. You're going to get some sales that you won't see until for 2 days, right? But that is intentionally going to run out of budget. Now, depending on how competitive, if you're in a really competitive niche, that budget may run out at 6 o'clock in the morning. If you're in a moderately competitive, maybe it runs out at noon. If you're in a low competition, maybe it runs the entire day or runs out at 6 p.m. that day, right? The next one, same products inside of an automatic campaign, all the same, like you're not running any kind of placement percentage. You're not running, you could either run down only bidding strategy or a fixed bid strategy. I would probably actually run it fixed bid, honestly. But on the second waterfall campaign, it's an automatic campaign. It is at your break-even bid. So in other words, this is the bid that you've calculated based on the profitability of your products and your previous campaigns, so that you know that if I have, let's say it's $1.50 in this example, that if I bid it at $1.50, that happens to be my break-even bid for my product. Therefore, I don't expect to make any money, but I'm going to get some sales, right? And more important, I'm going to continue. These first two campaigns are designed to continue to put pressure onto your competitors to spend their ad dollars, right? They've got to be more aggressive in their advertising, right? They're going to burn through their budgets more because maybe you're keeping their bids propped up so that they're basically going through their budget at a higher rate. Sorry. See if I can get my equipment to fall all over me here. But then again, you're also going to run out of budget. Again, depending on how competitive that is, that may be at noon, it may be at 6 p.m. The third one then kicks in, right? So the first one runs out of budget. That then rolls down to the second one because it has the next highest bid. It will roll out of budget, okay? It'll run out of budget and it'll stop running. Then it'll roll to the third one. Again, all of these, they've got the same products. If you already have experience and you've identified negative exact terms in your other automatic campaigns that you want to add into there, awesome, go for it. The third one is the one you open up, but you're going to drop the bid down so that it is profitable, right? So the bid is below your break-even cost per click, right? Let's say 75, 80% of your break-even bid. This is where you know that you're making profit, but then you open up the budget really wide, right? So that runs the whole rest of the day. Here's why. Now, I see there's a couple of questions. This is a kind of common confusion point, so I'll go ahead and try to jump in here in a second on those. Here's an example, and we've seen this many times over the years. Here's an example of what happens. Automatic campaign, waterfall number one, it spends. That one was not profitable. It ran at about, a 70, 80% ACoS and ran out after $20, right? It's not that big of a loss, right? But you got some sales, you put pressure. Meanwhile, your competitors, they're running through their budget also. Waterfall number two runs until, let's say, here, a great example on this, it ran all the way till 6 p.m., again, constantly putting pressure onto your competitors. Well, by now, your competitors often, especially the more inexperienced ones that are trying to compete against you this year, they run out of budget, but then they're like going, it's like, I have no idea if I made any money. I just spent, $100, $200, $500 or whatever, because Amazon told me to increase my budget, but I don't know if I'm making any money back. I'm going to panic. I'm going to turn off my ads. I'm not going to add more budget to them. Because I don't have any data that tells me that I've actually sold anything from these ads. And so I'm going to turn them off and I'm going to learn and hope that it works out. All of a sudden your competitive set shrinks so that your ads are one of the few that are running, and you've got a low bid, but you've got this really wide budget. And that runs the whole rest of the night. And then the whole process starts back over again the next day. We have literally seen on product lines that have had the average maybe 15,000 to 30,000 impressions in a day get over 1 million impressions with this Waterfall 3 campaign. So they're at a profit, their sales just exploded at the end of the day. Now, some of you may say, it's like, well, why don't I just camp out and watch my campaigns and just turn one on at 6 p.m. and see what it does from there? Yeah, you could do that too. If you're going to hover, then go ahead and hover. You can turn that on at that point, but you also want to try to grab some of the sales throughout the day also. Now, you've got some room to adjust this, right? It doesn't have to be $2, $1.50, $1. Adjust it according to what your break-even bid is for your product. I already have all those calculations stuff inside the Facebook group. So it's well documented there for those of you who are part of it. All right. I'll probably have to come back to this just so I can get through this because we're already at 53 minutes. So, let me kind of go through. So how do you determine the bids? Yeah, use that formula, and then you determine the bids based off of the profitability of the break-even bid for your product, which you better know. If you don't know, now's the time you figure it out. Use the formula that's in the Facebook group in order to calculate that. Would it work for manual exact campaigns? Yeah, but I would probably actually use the gold panning strategy that I'm going to tell you next for manual campaigns. Waterfall are only supposed to run on one product because the break-even is different for each one. Yeah, if you have that much of a difference between your products where your break-even varies all over the place, then yes, you could do it that way where you could have different, campaigns for each product. Technically, you could get away with different ad groups for those products, but generally, you're also, remember, you're still focusing in on what are your most profitable products too, right? That's the first phase of this whole discussion in this workshop. So you're not running on all your products, right? Let's see here. There is one thing to do is like a kind of a common question. My recommendation on this is, the common question is like, well, what about all the rest of the products that I stopped running ads on because they were in the part of the bottom 80%? Well, on those, you might want to set up just a single Waterfall 3 campaign for all of those extra products or the different product groups that you're not running ads on, or you're not running other standard waterfalls on, where it's basically just a low bid automatic campaign with your negative matches already added in there, and set those up to basically run so that even if, so those should run, even if they've got a low conversion rate, then you still will probably get some sales on those as well. And you're forcing it to basically only bid what you know is going to be profitable for those products. You start running the waterfall ads because the automatic ones, you could literally put it at midnight the day of Black Friday, if you want to, the day before, for instance, and then you're probably going to let them run through for, maybe till the following Wednesday, for instance. Okay. Yes, all campaigns are active at the same time. However, only one of them will actually show ads because they're exactly set up in the sense that they are targeting the same products. And so they should only be showing one that has the highest bid. That's what Amazon's going to lean into first, run it out of budget. Then it's going to go to the one that has the next highest bid, which is Waterfall 2, run that out of budget. And then it's going to finally camp out for the rest of the day on Waterfall 3, which has the lowest and profitable bid and a wide large budget. Okay. All right. No, Abe is asking, does stopping campaigns on 80% of your SKUs? No, because you're only doing it for a few days. If you're doing it for 2 weeks, yeah. If you're only doing it for a couple days or for a few days, even a week, no, it's not going to hurt it. Yeah, that's not gonna hurt it as long as you're not running it for more than a week. Typically, you're only gonna hurt it when you start getting like 3 or 4 weeks down the road. That's usually an out of stock problem. Certainly not an event problem like this. Okay, and then Tina, I just answered that question as far as variations, different campaigns. So, all right. All right, gold panning. So gold panning is another one. This is similar in that it is a low bid, but this is almost similar to Waterfall 3. The difference is you're actually not going to, so Waterfall is primarily for automatic campaigns, right? Specifically sponsored product automatic campaigns, not sponsored display automatic campaigns. So use Waterfall for sponsored product automatic campaigns. Use gold panning on pretty much everything except for the automatic campaigns. So sponsored product manual, keyword targeting, product targeting, category targeting, brand, keyword targeting, brand, category targeting, brand video, this sponsored display, product targeting, sponsored display, category targeting. Okay. And I've got a chart on the next one here, but the gold panning is it's really easy to set up. So this is why I want you to do it. Is you're simply just putting in a low bid and you can let this run all year round. Okay. It's a common, easy way for you to add on. This is designed to show ads very infrequently and only when ad space becomes available at a very discounted rate. The opportunities is that when you've got competitors who run out of stock, who run out of budget, who lose the buy box for any other, for those are the 3 primary reasons, right? Then your ad is much more likely to show at a discounted rate. Now, if you're always running a campaign that has this really high competitive top of search bid, then yeah, you're always going to have an ad that shows up here. But what about all those shoppers that do actually get to page 2? They get to page 5, they get to page 10. You should be there with some kind of ad placement. The gold panning campaign is a great way to do that. I'll show you here in a second. It's very simple to set up. You can apply it again to multiple locations, but you're basically keeping your bid very low, okay? Here's basically the placements where you can run gold panning, okay? Take a snapshot of that. It's pretty much everywhere, right? So the sponsored display does have automatic campaigns. That's basically the off Amazon views. I wouldn't actually do that. That's probably, you could certainly run a low bid campaign like that, but you should be a little bit more intentional about your sponsored display views, your remarketing campaigns as well. But that's kind of a whole different topic. Yasmin says, did the waterfall campaign strategy that I was teaching earlier for Prime Day. They all went out of budget at 2 p.m. They all went out of budget at 2 p.m. As in like Waterfall 3 went out of budget at 2 p.m. You're saying at the same time? It doesn't sound to me like you had a very big budget on Waterfall 3. Because you should not be running out of budget. Now, if you jumped your budget up to 5 times what it normally is on Waterfall 3 and you spent that and it was all profitable, then well done. That is great. You may have left some money on the table, but if you walked away from all of that with a huge jump in sales and profitability, then nice job, Yasmin. Yeah, cool. All right. The gold panning structure that I was talking about here, really easy, okay? But again, you can apply it to all these different locations, right? So there's going to be multiple ones that you set up. These are basically just, you can set them up as easy, arbitrary, $20 budget. I would recommend you focus in on your top 3 converting products, because the gold panning campaigns you can actually run year round, right? So while the waterfall ones and while all the 80-20 Pareto was talking primarily about high traffic days and like holiday kind of traffic, the gold panning campaign structure you can use year round, right? You can just run those continuously. Now, I would definitely make sure that you are, I put in here as far as the default bid is approximately 50 cents or half a suggested bid. There's basically 3 different ones. The arbitrary number was 50 cents, just to kind of throw that out there. But if you are normally used to bidding 50 cents, then you're probably bidding, you should be bidding 15, 20 cents maybe, right? A lot smaller. So you're definitely profitable when those ads do run, because it's going to require time and the rare click before you finally, let's put it this way. If you've got 10 products and all you do is add on 10 to 20 more sales in a month, right? You would say that's like why even bother doing it? Well, if those 10 to 20 products you got because you're advertising is at a single digit ACOS, which is exactly what we got on some of the waterfall ones too, on waterfall 3, but gold panning, very common. You can get, under 15% ACOS on these. Great way to average your overall ad spend ACOS down across when you've got more expensive campaigns. But these run in the background. They get just a few sales. They're not going to be used for launching a product or, being very aggressive or ranking. They're not a ranking strategy, right? They're low bid. They're designed for profit, year-round profit. And just make sure that you know what your break-even bid is, your break-even cost per click is for your products and your campaigns, and make sure that you're bidding definitely below that, right? Well below it if you can. Now, don't go so low as to be like, oh, I'm going to bid 5 cents, because you probably will never get the traffic. But if you get in there and let's say you normally are bidding $1 bid on a lot of your other campaigns, maybe go with 40, 50 cents, maybe you'll be tempted to want to raise it up once you start getting it and you start seeing it's like, oh, the ACOS is, 6%. I'm going to raise up the bid. While you can do that, I would resist that temptation. These are designed to park it, and basically to run in the background to give you an occasional sale. It's going to be really profitable. It's going to average your overall ad spend down so that your whole ad strategy combined is more profitable, right? So these are some of the things that we do at the agencies. We have to make sure we're aware of everything that's going on in order to increase organic sales as well as ad sales, right? Or I should say, or increase organic sales as well as advertised profitability. That's actually our focus. Yes. Okay. So I'm getting a little too chatty here, going a little off topic here. So let me move fast again here. Okay. Give me a 1 if you're keeping up. Give me a 0 if you're going to have to watch the replay. That's all good. Yeah. Okay. So there's quite a few you're going to do both. Okay. So I'm keeping up, but I'm still going to watch the replay. Cool. Nice. Let's talk about real quick here, offense and defense app. In 2020, product targeting ads are working phenomenally well. Now, keep in mind, the reason that this is, now for those of you who are kind of wondering about product targeting ads, the reason for this is that most of your competitors are only using about 15% of the ad placements. This is something, so we normally at Canopy, we normally go through and we do an evaluation of a brand and we say, okay, what are the strengths and weaknesses of your ad strategy compared to your competitors? And we'll tell you what that is. And 9 times out of 10, we see it again and again, only 15% of the ad strategy or ad placements that are on Amazon are being used. Okay, so basically 15% of the assets, the real advertised real estate, if you will. Okay. In this example here, kind of what I'm showing on this example product listing, there's a couple here that is, now most ad placements have some kind of a mix. They're not just like, oh, this is the only one ad type that gets here. There's usually a couple of them, right? But as an example here is the green boxes, sponsored display, product targeting ads. These will actually, so there's a couple of advantages to those. Of course, they do show things like deals and savings badges, like coupons, right? So the shoppers don't miss the deal. Those help to stand out if your competitors are not using those also, as far as like coupons and such. But the product targeting ads will appear alongside the relevant ad placements, or actually above the ad placements. But they'll primarily go on to product detail pages. They'll go on the customer reviews, the search results pages. They're even underneath like the featured bullets here, right? So the features. So in this case here, you can see the green box all the way at the top. That can be acquired through either a sponsored display, what they call a top stripe ad. Okay, that has a specific setup in order to do that. top stripe ad, that is also available through demand side platform or DSP. For those of you who are familiar with DSP, that is something that Canopy Management, we do self-management on that one. So we have a phenomenal track record as far as growing sales profitably with demand side platform or DSP. So if that's something that you guys are not currently running and you think that you're retargeting of your products, retargeting ads for your products in order to gain the customers from not only from competitors, but also those who skipped off of your listing and didn't buy the first time, that is a great strategy to get those, pick those sales back up again. So our team can certainly help you with that. But there's a couple of there's a couple of them here. So you got that top stripe with that thin green box at the top. You have the box that is just below the bullet point features there. That one is one of those multi-occupancy ones. So that one can be a sponsored display, product targeting ad. It can be a sponsored product targeting ad. It can be a DSP ad. So that one's got some flexibility. And then the one over on the right-hand column underneath the add to cart, that one is usually just sponsored display product targeting ad. Now there's a lot of other ad placements down below here. And we have tactics that we actually use within the, Daniel says, make the DSP webinar come sooner than December 3rd. I know, right? We're trying to put these together. So I put a lot of pressure on our marketing team to help with these. So, but there's plenty of other ads there, right? But the idea on this with product targeting ads is twofold. One is you can use them both from an offensive standpoint and a defensive standpoint. Okay. So let me kind of jump ahead here, keep moving, right? Offensive ads, we typically set up against weak competitors. That's kind of like the default, right? Now, we use a lot more aggressive and advanced tactics within the agency as far as to go after more competitors that are stronger than the products and the brands that we represent. We know how to do that. But for you, you can easily implement these and go and put in sponsored product targeting ads. You should all have access to that. For those of you who are brand registered, you would also have access to sponsored brand product targeting ads and sponsored display product targeting ads. If you don't have those running right now, get those set up today after this call. Where I would recommend you focus on is focus on your weaker competitors. Don't just let Amazon choose and make recommendations to you as far as who to target. Make the choices yourself. Here's what I would look at. Competitive product ASINs that have a lower average product review rating. In other words, your review rating is better than theirs, right? So the shoppers see your product as having a higher review rate. Fewer total review count. When your ad is running on a competitor, the product sees your product and says, okay, this looks like an equivalent alternative. It's got a better review rating. It has more review count, meaning more social proof. It maybe has a better price point. Now, price point can be either higher or lower. In this case here, I said higher price than yours, but if it's also significantly lower, if you have some very cheap knockoff that is selling for 10 bucks, absolutely target those, because there's plenty of people who are like going, I don't want the junk. I'm going to spend a little bit more and actually get something that's made correctly. So don't be afraid to go either higher or significantly lower, right? I put in here also to rank at least page 10. In other words, if those competitors, if they show up in the organic search results for some of the top target keywords that you go after, or top converting search terms that you are trying to target, if you've got competitors who are showing up in, like, say, the first 10 pages, ideally those are going to get some kind of traffic because they're going to show up in different situations. You know, somebody, that product may show up on page 10 for somebody who's shopping out of California. In New York, it may show up on page 2 because the warehouse is closer to them, or there's some other situation that makes the Amazon is going to present that other product. So those are great as far as to actually get traffic. Now you can carry this out and say, like, I'm going to target absolutely everybody, right? Common question on this is, why don't I just use category targeting and use the filters, because the filters already have it. Primarily, I say that you can do that, but I typically am only using the category targeting ads to differentiate between prime and non-prime. As in, I've got a prime product, I'm going to target those competitors who have a non-prime product. That's when I use the category targeting filters. Don't use it to just be lazy and say, well, I don't have to select. I can use either Amazon suggestions or I'll let them do the work. Don't do that. Do not do that, because you just won't get the traffic. It just won't do anything. Yes. Okay. Moving forward here. Okay. So we're at 110 right now. All right. We'll wrap up here shortly. Defensive ads. So defensive ads are a great way to protect your own brand pages from competitors doing the exact same thing, because they're also on this webinar or they see the replay, from doing the exact same thing to you. Look at your own product detail page underneath your bullet points, underneath your add to cart. Whose ad is running under there? If it's not one of your other product, one of the other products that you sell, then you're basically giving an opportunity for your competitor to distract your shopper, pull them off, and you will probably not get them back, because once they're distracted, they don't tend to come back. Okay. So defend your real estate. You don't need to occupy that space 100% of the time, but at least you should be putting up enough resistance. So you don't have to be super aggressive with your bidding on defensive ads. You know, maybe go put it at a break-even bid, maybe even a little bit lower, so that if nobody else is bidding aggressive, then your ad will show, and it keeps the shopper within your own brand, right? They might click through on your ads and see your other products, but they're still within your brand, which means they're more likely to convert on one of your products. Okay. Yes. Also a great way, if you've got different unique products, standalone products, not just variations. Okay. It doesn't work with variations very well. But if you have standalone, either separate parent ASINs or similar products within your brand, cross promote those, right? Great way to cross promote your other products. All right. Alex, thank you so much. I want to give a shout out to Alex. Thank you so much. She is kind of the backbone as far as how I can keep these things on track and get these kind of content out, so that I can do these workshops for you every 2 weeks. So please give some love to Alex, because she definitely is, yeah, she makes this all happen well. So, okay. So let's kind of wrap things up here then. We talked about the 80-20 rule, how to focus your ads in order to gain profitability on products, on campaigns, on targets. We talked about a couple of different campaign strategies, the waterfall campaign strategy and the gold panning strategy, see if I can talk, in order to gain additional sales when your competitors drop the ball, right? And then we also talked about getting in front of, basically getting your product in front of your target audience when they're on somebody else's product detail page, right? Now that can be a direct competitor, or it can even also, consider this, it can be on complementary products as well. Shopper may not be looking specifically for your product, but your ad may create an impulse purchase that they want, right? So that's going to allow you to take more profit out of fourth quarter. It's going to allow you to capitalize on high traffic days and mistakes that your competitors are going to make within your product niche. It is going to allow you to to increase your profitability year round if you implement those gold panning. And it's going to allow you to acquire a bigger margin of your target audience and steal market share away from your competitors. Give me some feedback. Did you all get everything out of this? Did you actually learn something you're going to put in? Please tell me you're going to take some action after this call and get some things put in place, because I've seen it work too many times that I don't want you to just sit on this and say, I'll get to it. You won't. Do it right after the call. Okay, good. Good. Well, Daniela, thank you so much. So that's kind of what I'm going for, is that you make it seem so easy. I do, because I've been doing this for so long. Now, if this is making you nervous, if you've got way too many products, way too many campaigns, then obviously that's why these things are sponsored too. So we can also have you kind of give you kind of an option here, right? So we did cover a lot today, right? So thank you, Daniela, for pointing that out. But if you take the time to implement these, you are going to see that it is all worth it, especially from a profitability standpoint, right? These techniques that I've been teaching you today, they're going to help you hold on to more of your profits. It means you'll have more to spend to grow your business in 2020 or in 2021 rather, right? More to spend expanding your product offerings, and of course, building out your team, developing your brand. But what I've shown you today isn't just to help you get more out of your PPC campaigns, right? Is to help you overall expand and grow your business on more profitably, especially given all the changes in buyer behavior and the ad platform and the Amazon, selling on Amazon in general, how much has changed in the last year. So that's why I've taken the time to try to get some of this in front of you so you can get it right. Now, with that being said, this isn't something that is for everyone, right? You don't have to necessarily do it for yourself. This is where the sponsorship comes back in. So I mentioned earlier, of course, that this webinar is sponsored by my advertising agency, Canopy Management. And basically what we do is we give brands the 2 key things that they need to grow their business, okay? It's going to be time, and that's going to be expense, or excuse me, not expense, expertise. Wow. Yeah, no, that's funny. Time and expertise. We take away we reduce the expense so that you get more profitability. That's where my head was going to, but it's the time and the expertise. That's funny. And you were all here to see it. So we do take the time, we do take care of all these things that come up with running a successful Amazon business, including Amazon advertising as far as PPC. We also talked about demand side platform, or DSP. We also do listing optimization. We do off Amazon advertising. We do a number of things in order to, as far as product positioning of your products. That's a huge opportunity in 20 and certainly in 2021. It's going to be massive as far as product positioning. So we can definitely help you with that. But we do that a lot faster because we have an experienced and trained team with a very strict set of processes and systems that I've built, so that our partners, certainly a lot faster than what our partners, what we call our clients, or our partners, would be able to do on their own, and with better results. Definitely better results. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing it. And supported by a team, again, of successful sellers, accredited Amazon experts, and even former Amazon executives, which means we've got some great connections. Anytime anything goes wrong with a listing, which I know a lot of you have experienced before, we definitely have some avenues, some additional channels other than seller support. So with these critical pieces being managed and optimized by our team, our partners can focus on growing and scaling the business that they envision and want to build for themselves, which kind of sounds pretty good, right? I'm sure a lot of you would rather not be doing the advertising. You'd much rather be working on developing your brand and growing your, talking to your actual audience and understanding what it is they want to get from you. So for those of you who feel like you want to check out and see if outsourcing is ready, if you're ready to see how far that you can grow your business and increase your profitability on Amazon, then reach out to my team. Alex is going to put the link back in here to kind of wrap things up, and then I'll jump into Q&A. I'm going to leave this slide up here because it has the link on there, but I definitely recommend that, certainly if you are in your first year, we do have some new options that we didn't have before. So bringing that up. For those of you who are ready to actually scale up and you need 2021 to be a lot better than 2020, then we are potentially the partners that you are seeking. Let's have that conversation. There's no risk, there's no obligation. Let's have that conversation so that you at least get some answers as far as where your brand is positioned in the marketplaces, what your strengths and the weaknesses are from an expertise of our team. All right, we'll give that to you, and you can walk away and you can make a business decision as far as whether we're a good fit or not. You at least are walking out with some good information as far as what you need to change in the next year in order to keep your competitive edge. Okay. And yes, Matt, Canopy Management is actually hiring. So I don't know, Alex, if we actually have the link for for that. Actually, I think, Matt, if you actually go out to canopymanagement.com, we probably have a join our team link, which I think goes over to the positions that we're currently hiring for. Usually we have 4 or 5 positions that we're looking to fill at any given time during the year. So, oh, Micho is applying too. Nice. Very good. Very good. Let me know in the chat too, if you actually went out for the first time and filled out filled out a request in order to potentially partner with Canopy Management. Let me know in the chat there if I'd like that kind of feedback, because I usually don't see it, right? So until it comes back around and says, okay, Brian, we need you to evaluate this this brand. So, okay. Let's then open up for Q&A. We're already at 2:22 my time, so it's an hour and 22 minutes into it. Let's see if we can try to cap this at the hour and a half. So let's do questions for the last 8 minutes, and then we'll cut it off. And for those of you who step out before this, thank you for joining me. And make sure you follow up, make sure you're part of the Facebook group on Amazon and on the Facebook group in Facebook. Well, you guys are seeing some gems from me today, man. For those of you who have not been, this is your first workshop, give me a 5 in the chat, if you will. If you got value out of this, if it was worth your time, please. Give me a 0 if it's not. I'm okay. I'm a big boy. I can take the heat. Matt says, eh. He was kidding. Awesome. Good, good. I'm really glad to hear that. Cool. All right. So let me jump in. Let me see what kind of questions you've got here. So Matt, you're asking as far as like San Antonio. Yes, I'm actually about 10, 15 minutes from San Antonio. I'm actually in a town called New Braunfels, which is about in the middle between San Antonio and Austin, Texas in the United States. If you're in the area, would love to connect. Let's see here. 4 months. Okay, hold on. Let me bring this over here so I can actually look at it. Nice, nice, Chad. That's awesome. Cool. Yeah, I look forward to having that conversation, Chad. Yeah, no, it sounds to me like you've got a rocking product. So yeah, let's chat. So you got products that actually sell better in January than December. So should I implement these campaigns then as well? So if you don't typically, now, if you've already gone through this, if you've gone through Prime Day and you didn't see any bump in the traffic to your products, for instance, then you probably don't need to do the waterfall campaign. Absolutely put in the gold panning campaigns, right? So those would be good ones to set up. Basically, those are your low bid campaigns across all your targets for your top 3 or your top 20% converting products. As far as focusing your ads, again, if you're not seeing wild fluctuations in your conversion rate during this season, if you don't see that until January, then probably set that up, plan on doing that closer to the end of December. So yeah, you can kind of hold off on that one because you've got a different seasonality than a lot of products see right now. Yeah, Matt, San Antonio. You know, technically, so my office here is actually in New Braunfels, my studio here, and then I actually live in Schertz, which is just south of us. But we always kind of tell people, yeah, we're basically New Braunfels because New Braunfels is cooler. Mohammed, I have shifted all my top keywords, which were converting well, from automatic to exact, but I'm not getting sales from those keywords. No. Here's the kind of challenge on that. So automatic campaigns, Amazon is using its AI and its predictive, basically a predictive analysis of what the shopper's intent is. And the automatic campaigns are much more trained than the manual campaigns. If you pin it down to just exact match, you're basically taking, especially if it's a new campaign within its first 3 weeks, Amazon does not trust the campaign and just won't show it. Okay. You may be, if you're not getting impressions, then shift over to fixed bidding strategy on those manual keyword campaigns in order to overcome that distrust that Amazon currently has. If you are getting impressions, but you're not getting conversions, exact match is too narrow. In other words, Amazon is only going to show your ad in those situations where it has a high confidence that the shopper is in a buying mood for your product. Now, that sounds like the perfect sweet spot. But our observation is that if Amazon is only confident of that 15 to 20% of the time, what happens the other 80% of the time? Your ads don't show at all because you've narrowed it, you've tightened it down to exact only. So in those situations, now you need to start taking some of those keywords and start testing some of the other match types, including, now, generally what I recommend is testing phrase match next. But if you're in a well, I shouldn't say hyper, if you're in a very competitive niche, don't be afraid to do the opposite of what you think your competitors are doing. That includes your product listing, your title, your main image, including your ads. If you think that all of your competitors, if you're in a really competitive space and you've got high cost per clicks, try broad match. Try broad match out. If you're running, if your cost per clicks are up $5 or higher, that kind of level of competition, try doing the opposite of not doing exact and phrase. Try introducing broad match as well. Test it. Test it on keywords that you think are the highest converting ones. Always try to focus your keywords onto the most relevant for your specific product. Try not to get them too broad. Don't go for the high volume search terms because some keyword told you that there's a massive amount of traffic. It also means that it's untargeted. So make sure that you're also specifically narrowing your target into those keywords that are directly relevant to your product. I love the fact that we're getting so many questions. These are awesome. Thank you. I noticed on Facebook group a couple of comments saying that sponsored brand campaigns actually affected their ranking. Well, all ads affect ranking. Anything that includes that increases sales velocity. Turning off ads can even affect your ranking. So Amazon is a little bit fickle when you say you're not going to pay for some of their services. Same thing as if you're fulfillment by merchant versus fulfillment by Amazon, that can affect your ranking. So there's a lot of things that affect ranking, right? I wouldn't worry about any specific ad type, right? Because we get success out of all the ad types and all the ad placements. It's just a case of knowing from experience how to set those up. Hopefully what I've given you today is some very specific tactics that you can implement that will help kind of focus that strategy a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of opinions out there for sure. Now, here's something I'll tell you. So sponsored brands, don't forget, sponsored brands have a fourth match type, a keyword match type. They have broad match modifier. If you're not aware of that, do some research on that or ask it within the Facebook group, in the Amazon PPC troubleshooting Facebook group. Broad match modifiers on brand ad keywords may be something that you need to implement in order to make sure that those aren't showing too loosely, too untargeted, right? So Matt, you're asking as far as like by holiday, we talk about Christmas, we talk about New Year's. Typically it's the buying season of the gift buying season of holiday, of Christmas, for instance, right? So this can apply. Generally, these high traffic ad strategies are typically just going to be for like Prime Day and your Black Friday to Surprise Tuesday, because those are ones where Amazon throws a ton of advertising dollars out into the world in order to get new Prime shoppers and get the shoppers back online. It's not simply just because you're running a sale on your product. If you have other kind of the second seasonal, the second seasons would be things like if you have products that are especially that are typically picked up for New Year's. Typically that's not a gift giving time, right? So you don't have that overall kind of gift giving frenzy. But if you have products that are popular for, New Year's, and then after New Year's, you're going to have things like health and fitness. You're going to have, after that, you're going to have a lot of the baby showers start popping back up again, because they don't want to do it during the holidays. And so you get a flood of baby showers in January, February. After that, you're going to have typically your spring cleaning, home remodeling, storage kind of niches that really pop up pretty heavily. Then you start getting into the spring when you start having things like spring break and holidays and local, some traveling, and you've got events, you've got weddings are starting, you've got Mother's Day, Father's Day, you're going into things like graduation season into May, June, July. Into, and then July, of course, and then you're back over into, 4th of July. See, I could kind of go on and on because I've been doing this way too long. So yeah, you could have those as kind of micro. It's just, you kind of want to look at what your kind of answer that in a different way is if you're focused on as far as using the strategies of the 80-20, you kind of have to get a years of experience to kind of see what did it do last year. Or if you think you might be affected, start watching your conversion rates week over week. If you start seeing some fluctuations where it's starting to drop a lot, then usually that's shoppers getting distracted with some other event coming up. Like there's a holiday coming up, for instance, or politics or something like that, right? Some riot, somewhere. But then if you typically get a lot of sales, a lot of traffic and a lot of sales on specific, like your peak month is not November, December, but it's some other month, then again, you can probably get a lot more sales out of those without the risk of your average cost per click being driven up heavily. You kind of have to look at your competition and watch your CPCs and your conversion rates to see, okay, competition is bidding higher and higher within my niche, and therefore my cost is getting higher. At that point, anytime your cost starts increasing because of competition, that's where you focus into your higher ROI assets, your higher converting products, your higher converting campaigns and targets. That's how you basically get control back from your competitors kind of running away with your ad spend. And Misha, yeah, as far as like working with our team from an employment standpoint, we do get a lot of applications. We are very picky, and we are kind of best of the best as far as who we hire into Canopy Management. So have some patience, because we only have 2 people on our HR team, and they've got to do hundreds and hundreds of interviews and evaluations each week. So give it a couple of shots. Try more than once, and really kind of like your product line, set yourself apart from the rest. Tell us why you should be getting the interview. Yeah. Yeah, Matt, a little cooler than shirts. Yep. High bid, high budget, top of search on first page, or using the adjust bids by placement instead. You're talking about as far as brand ads, specifically as far as adjust bids by placement. That is something to experiment with. That is something you can kind of do some split testing with. I don't always just focus on like, somebody says like, oh, top of search works great, you get a higher conversion. I'll do a top of search kind of campaign strategy, and I'll test that at the same time that I've got a low bid campaign. So I'm getting kind of both ends. I'm getting high visibility top of search kind of placements, but I'm also getting kind of the stragglers who are off on page 6. I'm knocking my stuff over again, who are off on page 6. I want to capture those shoppers as well. Okay. So, split test it. Yeah. We've had some success on that, but it's not right for every situation, on the adjust bids by placement. Cause typically like on a brand ad, you can set it so it's like, okay, adjust the bid so that it doesn't show up as top of search, for instance. Ryan, I'm afraid I'll run out of inventory during Q4. That's a good bad problem to have, right? What should I do to preserve ranking until I'm back in stock? So the general rule of thumb is to close your product listing while you are out of stock. Your ads are going to shut off by default. Well, except for your sponsored brand ads. You're going to have to shut those off, but it's pretty easy. Just kind of pause all your campaigns. When you do get back in stock, if it's longer than 4 weeks, there's going to be some warm-up time. You're going to have to go really aggressive on your ads when you reopen your product listing. Yeah, Yeah, you basically are going back into launch mode. So launch mode is typically where you're using things like on your sponsored product campaigns, you're shifting over to things like fixed bidding strategy in order to get past that distrust. You built up some time with Amazon running ads that they started trusting your ads, and then you took it all away from them for at least a few weeks. And then so now you've got to convince them again. So when you relaunch those, go a bit more aggressive on your bidding, set your campaign bidding strategy to fixed so that you overcome having your bid depressed so that they basically disqualify. That's a whole different topic there, right? The ad auction will disqualify your ad from even showing, which is represented by having little to no ad impressions on your campaigns. That's wise because Amazon doesn't trust your campaign. Try the fixed bidding strategy. It's a little bit more expensive, but it gets you past the first couple of weeks of distrust until Amazon starts trusting the ad again. Then you can switch back over to down only or test up and down, right? What was the fourth W? Keyword for private label. I don't know. I'm not sure what that refers to, Misha. Sorry. Will you recommend to run Black Friday or Cyber Monday lightning deals? I do. Yeah, especially if you can get the Prime exclusive deals. If you can hit the deadline on those are usually pretty good. Don't go so aggressive. You know, I think it's like a minimum of 20%. Go 20%, right? If you've got the margins to be able to do that, and you think that's actually going to get you, because yeah, the lightning deals, Prime exclusive deals, those definitely bring in sales, but you've got to make sure you've got enough margin to afford to do that. Todd, so is your service focused on helping sellers with private label products, or can you help wholesalers too? We'll talk to you from as far as wholesalers. We have actually worked with wholesalers. Actually, we work with one, but it is typically rare, primarily because wholesalers often have on Amazon. They usually have small margins. They're usually running in the 10 to 15% margin range, or they are competing against other. They don't own the buy box all the time, and so there's some challenges there. So if you have products in your wholesale line that are giving you better than 15% margins, and you've got some, I would say, better than 10% USP conversion rate on those, have a conversation. I'll go ahead and evaluate it with you and give you some feedback. If we can help you, we'll tell you that. If we can't help you, I'll also tell you that. Okay. Worst case, you get some recommendations to run with. All right. So it looks like Nina's got the last one. Nice. Okay, Nina, congratulations. You're the last one here with questions. So how do you place ad as a defensive strategy on your own detail page? You don't. If you only have one product, you're not running defensive ads, because Amazon does not like to show child variant ads on it, or its own ads on its own page, right? It's not that it's impossible. It actually, we do see it sometimes in cases where there's very, very little competition, but probably not the case for you. So generally, the way that you have to run that, anytime you're doing cross-marketing ads or defensive ads on your own page, it is because you have a separate parent or a separate standalone product that you can cross-market, not a child variation or the same product. So unfortunately, that you may be out of the loop if you've only got one product or you only have variations. You can test it, but it's unlikely to show as a defense ad. Okay, cool. Alex, thank you again for putting that link back in there. That's canopymanagement.com and then webinar-offer. I would definitely recommend that you jump out there. I guess, let's see, Taha and not sure who else was actually asking for it there. Yeah, look forward to having the conversation with you. Thank you, everybody. We ran a little bit long today, but thanks for sticking around here. You have a fantastic rest of your week. Put these in place. Please give me some feedback back in the Facebook group that A, that you got some value out of this workshop, and B, that you are putting these things in place. Please start that conversation over in the Facebook group over in Amazon PPC Troubleshooting, because it'll make everybody else jealous that they weren't here. So, all right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you very, very soon. Take care.